All right. Hey, welcome to the Intelligence Briefing Live. What's the buzz? Where leaders and hands-on experts share how they have turned hype into outcome. It's Star Wars Day today, so let's see if you spot all the references throughout our show. I must say though, I actually don't have a bad feeling about this. So, in any case, today we'll talk about creating a path to AI. And who better to talk to about it than someone who's done it firsthand, Doug Shannon. So I know the force is strong with this one. Hey, Doug, thanks so much
Hey,
for joining.
yeah, thanks, Andres. It's a pleasure to be here. That intro was amazing. So,
Thank you so much. So hey, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
yeah, Doug Shannon, intelligent automation, leader in the space. I talk to many companies, different colleges, and really just kind of help drive the community forward and in providing my knowledge and what I've kind of gone through to help others really just strive for more or just see so they don't others don't fall in the same like pit holes or issues and things that I've seen in the past.
That's awesome. And I know you're very active on LinkedIn as well. So I really love your passion for this topic and sharing this with the community. I think it's awesome what you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Um, yeah, so for those of you who are just joining the stream, please drop a comment in the chat. Maybe at which age you watched your first Star Wars movie. So we keep it within the theme. And while you guys are doing that, maybe first question for you, Doug. What do you think? Should we play a little game to kick things off?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Perfect. So this game is called No, it's not called What's the Best. It's the name of our show. It's called In Your Own Words. And got this buzzer here. So when I hit it, the wheels will start spinning. And when they stop, you'll see a sentence. And I'd like you to answer with the first thing that comes to mind and why. So in your own words. And to make it a little more interesting, you'll have 60 seconds for your answer. So again, for those of you watching live, drop your answer and why in the chat. Really curious what you think here. So Doug, are you ready for What's the Buzz?
Ready.
Okay, perfect. Then let's do this. So if AI were a character from Star Wars, who would it be? 60 seconds, go.
Sure. If it was a character, it would be probably C3PO, right? So being a what's the name? It's not an astromech droid. He's a like a personality kind of droid. So it's basically taking different cultures, different people, and understanding how to work with them, right? So a bunch of different processes put together in a way that creates a matrix of just information that can be mitigated or kind of controlled or spit back out. Like you get something in, hey, I have these things. C3PO has like a model in his head to go, oh, I know that language, I know that culture, I know what they're saying. Here's what they really mean and what they're saying. So it's a protocol droid, actually. Yeah. So if AI was a character, it would be a protocol droid.
Fantastic. And I think with C3PO, there's also a lot of focus, right, and things that you need to do, and so I guess your focus determines your reality. So great that you finished it within the 1 minute. That's perfect. So now I remember you were on Manny Bernabe's show a couple of weeks ago, and that episode was titled "AI is Overrated. Start with Automation." I mean, do or do not. There is no try. Let's be realistic. So, but where do you see things going there, and what would you recommend from your own experience that people do and get started on their path to AI?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is understanding that there is a lot of hype. There's a lot of hype in every industry right now. You can talk about hyper automation. You can talk about hyperscaling. You can talk about in general like digital transformation, some of the higher end stuff, even AI, right? So AI, you need to make sure you have all of your bases filled ahead of that. So what you're talking about is like you need to make sure you have your business process mapping. You need to make sure you have some kind of RPA, robotic process automation, starting. It doesn't mean you're going to get all the good things, but you'll get some things out of it. And it starts that process of changing your company's culture, changing your company's way of thinking, to kind of upskill those people and those employees to understand, hey, where do we go next? And I'm really understanding what that digital work looks like. From there, then you go to the automation side of doing full end-to-end automation of processes and whatnot. And then you look at building intelligent business process mapping, so that then even your mapping of those processes is really being kind of more handled and more controlled, so your quality is better, and you have that source of truth that you're starting to build out, that data center, the information is going in. And then you build out your intelligent automation. You then, from intelligent automation, you can power your Power BI stuff. You can power all of your data and your dashboards, and then you can really start to look at like doing hyper automation, which I usually consider hyper automation as like a more of a you hit it and then you kind of go back and you kind of work it again, and then you hit that point where you're doing hyper automation again, you kind of go back. But AI can kind of help maintain that. So if you want hyper automation, you're going to have AI in the end state, really being driven by all these other automations, all these other business processes, to really get to that end state of having a full-fledged AI that can maintain itself.
Fantastic. So that aspect of culture, I think, is a very important one. And when you say start with RPA, then move into other things, how do you see this play out over what period of time, or what can an engagement like this look like? Is that project based? Is that big bang type things?
Yeah, I think every organization, one way to look at it from the business side is no one project uh, is going to change the whole entire organization or enterprise, right? So same thing with like automation. So if you just do RPA, you're not going to change the entire enterprise. Now, if you do RPA and you do those like band-aid, basic low-hanging fruit, get those out of the way to give your people more time back, and then you drive that to be more robust and more rigor and more governance to get to the automation side, then yeah, you just grow. You're going to grow that, and when you grow as a platform in your automation space, the company and the people that work with you in that team are going to grow as well.
That's fantastic. So bring people along on that journey, and get them to work with you. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's just having a quick look at the chat. Seems like those of you that have responded started watching it quite early, 9 and 12. So that's awesome.
Good time.
Must admit, for me, it was the early 30s, not the early teens. But
That's probably about 9 or 10. Yeah.
Enjoyed it. So yeah, I mean, like you said, right? Build that path, build it into the future, and I guess like this guy would say, always in motion is the future. So along those lines, I'm wondering, continuing down that path of culture. So what type of culture do you need to create to get ready for AI, and how did you do it in your role?
Yeah, culture's big, right? Because you're using automation as an influencer, like a change agent, right, or an agent of change. And so there's actually two secrets they'll share on your show, but you just don't talk about it too much unless it's like internal stuff. But overall, you want the first one out of the two secrets. You want movement, right? So that movement is going to be uh, you want to have that. You're going to there's many ways to get it, but you want to be like the kind of the weird guy in a way. Like you want to be the weird team that's like talking about it, enabling it, really getting it out there, showing what it can do. And then when you get your first person that says, oh, hey, I'll go try that automation thing, let's see what happens, you really want to support them, and you want to engage and say, hey, like, this is how you do this is how you work with us here. Let me like hold your hand and walk you through the steps, because you want to enable them to feel comfortable with the process and build that trust. And so the first part is movement, and the movement is very much about like enabling that person, and not only just like taking them through the process, but like show them when you get that ROI from helping them build out this automation, make sure they know that they have that, they did that, they provide them the ownership and the direct value, say, look, you, by working with us, save this amount of money. This is your ROI. Let's go together, tell leadership, you save this much money. By enabling people and enabling other teams to work with you and providing that ownership really provides value to them. And then that's where it goes into step 2 of like the secret sauce of things. And that's really just fear of missing out. So literally you can say, hey, look, I saved this team a bunch of money and they worked with us, saved money. They have value. They see ownership. Do you want that too? And they say, well, yeah, of course. It's like, why aren't we saving money? Why aren't we saving time? Like, we get time back. We can do more. We can innovate. We can actually do the things we really want to work on versus these reports that take 1 or 2 weeks out of our month to get them done.
Yeah. It's great that you mentioned that, and I've seen this in my own experience as well, right? That once you show somebody, hey, look, dangle the carrot in front of them and say, hey, this is what we've done with Joe in finance, and this is what they've been able to achieve, build that momentum, and I think, like you said, FOMO effect. But I also heard you say something else. It's when you work with individual people. How have you set that up in your roles so far? Was it approaching individual people? Was it with sponsorship from the top? Were there formal automation programs? What's worked in your experience?
Yeah, the biggest thing that there's always 2 ways to do anything. A lot of times it's going to be like your ground up approach, and that's very like road showy. That's hey, here's what we do, here's how we do it, here's why it's good. And then there's the leadership approach of which sometimes it depends on which one you get. You either come from the top down, or you come from the bottom up, or you do both at the same time, or you do one to get the other one to get buy-in, right? So top-down approach would be leadership saying we need automation, and we need it, especially in the days that we're in right now, where we need more efficiency, we need ways to be more impactful, or build in like a way to pivot when we need to, so that we can actually be a more established like business, and companies can do more with what they have. So there's a top-down approach, and then there's the bottom-up approach, which is very showy. But sometimes you need to do the show and tell to get leadership to kind of see like the why. And then once you can actually build that interaction, and again, like you're building trust, not only trust with the users and the employees of your company, you're building trust within your own organizations and your own leaderships and your directors and everyone, really, to ensure that they know, oh, this is an option now. We can actually take this, run with it. We can tap these individuals. We can tap this center of excellence that does this automation stuff, and really like they can help us drive value. And it's not the RPA team or the automation team driving the value per se, enforcing this. It's we're enabling people to want to save time on their own. Like, we're not taking jobs, we're not doing anything crazy. It's literally giving time back, and that's the key, because then everybody wants time back. More and more people every day. We need time back to watch all these Star Wars movies that come out, right? So that's why we're here, right? So
perfect. Hey, and by the way, looking at the chat again, comments from Christina and from Doug and others, seems that this really resonates what you're sharing here, right? Christina said 100%. Crawl before you run starts with RPA. Build a path to AI. Doug said, hey, fear of missing out. Brilliant. So that's
hi, Talani. Hey, Talani.
Exactly. Hi, Talani. Great to have you with us as well. But the other thing that I hear is, obviously, when you start with RPA, you move towards intelligent automation. You want to get to AI. So there's always a bigger fish. There's another one.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's always
Yeah. So the part that I'm curious about is, what were some of your biggest learnings moving from RPA into intelligent automation over to AI? What should our viewers take away here? What should they learn?
Yeah, the biggest takeaway would be it goes back to just like culture and being that change agent and an agent of change, right? It goes back to everybody out, a lot of people out there, right, in general, are saying like AI is going to solve everything. We're going to go down to the local store and pick it up, and that's going to change our world, and it's going to be great. You can take 3 to 6 months on a AI project. You can make things happen. You can see results, and then what happens is the users and the people or the processes that precurse that AI experience or that AI workflow or that model will change, and then it doesn't work anymore. The same thing happens if you go all in on intelligent automation from the get-go. You may see that your stuff breaks a lot more because you don't have like the amount of a good stable base to come from, or a good source of truth, right? So if you have all your data and it's clean data, or even use automation to clean that data, or find a way to put data into that data so you don't have a data swamp and it is clean, then that data that comes out of there is going to be much more valuable and be able to have metrics about and all these other little tools that you need to ensure that your data and your analytics and your algorithms are not going to have issues. It's really, at the end of the day, it's about upskilling the employees, making sure everybody gets involved and feels that they're supported and enabled to be ownership of their data and stewards of that. And then it's also the ability to just to really just drive home that value and let others kind of join into that. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is definitely a lot about power to the people, right? Empower, enable, so that they can lead this, that they can shine, but with the COE in the background that does prepare them for the job they want and they need to do. So that's awesome. In my experience, there's no such thing as luck. But I'm so glad that this has worked out today. So let me maybe quickly summarize, because I see we're coming up on time. So what I heard you say was, first, start with automation before you move towards AI. It's like the old crawl, walk, run, like Christina said in the chat. Secondly, bring your people along. After all, you need folks who can advocate for you and who can advocate for your program and who are enabled to do these things themselves and talk about it in a way that shows the value and builds more momentum. And then I think thirdly, also like you said, it might not necessarily be a straight shot, right? But you need to get better at it, and you better need to get on the path to AI if you want to reach your destination. So, like I said, we're getting close to the end of the show. Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your experience and learnings with us. It was really great to have you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Andres. It's a fantastic talk, and may the 4th be with you.
Exactly. So see you next time for another round of the Intelligence Briefing Live. What's the buzz? Bye-bye.